Welcome to the Jordan Davis podcast. I am your host, Jordan Davis, and on today's episode, we got Godzilla King of the Monsters review to talk about. We got a whole bunch of Star Wars news to talk about, from the Vanity Fair coverage to all the way from a possible Knights of the Old Republic adaptation movie coming in the years to come. And maybe we'll talk about a little MCU with Spider-Man Far From Home coming out in a month. So get your popcorn, get your drinks, and I'll talk all about it after the intro. So I think I'm going to start off with the review of Godzilla King of the Monsters. And I'm going to be upfront with you. I'm going to be honest with you. I liked this movie. I really did. I didn't expect them to go so extreme with the monsters, but I'm glad that they did. Because if you watch the original 2014 Godzilla, it was kind of like a Jaws kind of movie. They introduce you to all the humans. They give you all this human story, but teasing the monster Godzilla in this case a little bit at a time. And personally, for me, I thought that was pretty great. Now, the 2014 human story could have been a lot better, but I kind of like what they were going. I kind of like they eased away into showing the monster and trying to save him to like the big third act of the movie. And I kind of understand what they went there. So now going into this movie, a new director, new actors, new monsters besides obviously Godzilla. And I liked how they portrayed each one of them. Each one of them had their own personality. You had Mothra, you had King Ghidorah, you had Ronan, and they were very separate. The personality was very separate. They were very different, and I liked that. And Ronan, in my opinion, kind of got the best action scenes all along with Godzilla. Here to say that Godzilla gets a lot more screen time, even though it's not much, but he does get more screen time than 2014. And when he does get his screen time, it is awesome. He has epic moments, it has epic fights. The human story is a little bit better, but to be honest, if you're listening to this review, you're not there for the human story. You're not there to see an Oscar performance from these actors. That's not what the movie is selling you on. It is here to sell you on the monsters, the big fights, King Ghidorah versus Godzilla. Who's gonna win the match? And I kind of like in the promotion, they kind of build up the boxing match or wrestling match atmosphere of it. Who's gonna win, King Ghidorah or Godzilla? Who's gonna be the king of all the monsters? And I kind of like that aspect. Now, I think it's not just a common monster versus monster movie. I think it's a lot deeper, and it sets up in a good way what Godzilla and King Kong will be next year. And it's gonna be interesting how they get to that, and I think it's just gonna be like king versus king, who is going to be supreme. That I think whatever whatever happened, because I'm not trying to give away spoilers here. In Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think it's gonna play heavily into Kong versus Godzilla. So my straightforward review here is it's a great blockbuster summer movie. It's not going to have the best script. It's not going to be nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. But you're going to have a terrific time. You're going to be cheering. You're going to be just in awe in the special effects, to magnitude of the color and everything about the monsters you're going to love. And it's going to make you very excited to see King Kong versus Godzilla. And I think that was the job that they needed to do. So they got you uh, from the first act was in this whole trilogy was Godzilla. Then they got you to the meat of Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now they're going to give you the main event, the true trilogy of these monsters main event trilogy is going to be King Kong versus Godzilla. And all I'm going to say about that upcoming movie next year, I have my money on Godzilla. I'm just putting that out right there. I'm just putting it out. I'm not going to give you any spoilers what happens in this particular movie. I'm just saying next year I got my money on Godzilla. So that's my review. I thought I would get this out first in the podcast, then worry about all other things what I want to talk about. So go see it, support it if you like kaiju and big monster movies, because it needs its support, much definitely. And I think whoever's watching this, whoever likes monster movies, you're gonna like it. So now I said I was gonna talk about some MCU stuff, and since Spider-Man: Far From Home is coming out, the time I'm recording this about a little bit over a month, and everything I've seen about it been really, really getting hyped for this movie. Now, when I first heard Kevin Feige say it's gonna be the end of Phase 3, I was like, huh, really? Because it just fits a lot more if it's the beginning of Phase 4. But more I think of it, more they're entering multiverse and how he's gonna deal with the death of a certain character that's very close to him. I'm not sure if you watch Endgame, but I assume that you have, that Peter Parker is dealing with the death of Tony Stark. And I think that's kind of reason why I think it's still in Phase 3. Because they're kind of closing everything that was in game. And I think what Spider-Man Far From Home will do at the end of this movie will bring us into to Phase 4, which will be involved of multiverse and whatever else is going on that is planning for Phase 4. And I've been hearing some rumors that they might separate, like, Avengers movies. Like, they might have a Avengers group that's basically on Earth and they follow them in one Avengers movie, and then another totally different Avengers group will focus on cosmic and space and all of that. So I think that's a good idea, since I believe Spider-Man is going to be a big role in the MCU going forward. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be um, Tony Stark, but I think he is going to be a face of the MCU like he is in the comics in his own special way. So, like I said, I am really excited, and everything I'm seeing from the trailers, the promotion, I think this is going to be a great movie, a great Spider-Man movie. And how they deal with Mysterio and how they reveal how he really is a villain. Because to me, I think at the end of the day, he's going to be a villain. No doubt. He's going to be a villain. And how they reveal it, I think it's going to make it that special. And I think it's going to affect Peter even more. Because he trusts this guy, but he found out he's not really that good. So I think that's gonna be a good thing. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is really gonna play it good. He's gonna act um, it very well, and I think this movie is just going to be the Spider-Man movie we've been waiting for in the MCU. And no, don't get me wrong. Spider-Man: Homecoming was a fantastic movie in my opinion. So good. What they needed to do in the MCU. And I think Far From Home is going to be just a step higher because from what I'm seeing, if they can get what made Homecoming great and just build on it with amazing action set pieces, I think this is going to be a very good MCU movie. Maybe it could be the greatest Spider-Man movie because I don't know if that's possible because Spider-Man 2 is such a great movie, especially in Spider-Man territory. But they have the potential of being better than Spider-Man 2. They got Tom Holland, who's, in my opinion, the best Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Spider-Man together. And so we're gonna have to see what happens because there could be some big things happening in this movie that we're not prepared for. That could be very exciting. So yeah, I cannot wait to see that movie and see all the juicy details that come out of it. Okay, so next on the list, there was a certain rumor came out about a developing Star Wars movie. Now, I don't know if the Game of Thrones producer is behind producers are behind this or whoever, but we what we know is from report from BuzzFeed, I believe, that Knights of the Old Republic movie might be into play. Now, I don't know if this is going to be in the world of it or it's going to be actually an adaptation of the video game. Now, if I was making decision making, which I'm not, there are much better, smarter people doing that. Kathleen Kennedy is doing a fantastic job, and I'm supporting her 100% because she is a great and fantastic producer. And there is a reason why George Lucas personally picked her. But if they're gonna do that Knights of Old Republic movie, they, in my opinion, they got to do the video game. They got to do the adaptation. They got to adapt the books because there's so much you can play with Darth Malak, Revan, Bastila, and it's it's the movie that you need after this Skywalker saga that would get everyone immediately involved. I have no doubt about that. It will get you immediately involved. It will want you to get to know these characters so much more. Bastila, Revan, the romance between Revan and Bastila. From my point of view, I think the Rey and Ben romance in the sequel trilogy has a little bit of Bastila and Revan romance from the Knights of the Old Republic. So they can just go full on tell that story. And I think if you do your research and you just read about what all happened of it, you're really gonna want to see that on the big screen. Because before the sequel trilogy and the whole Ben and Reylo kind of thing, I was really wanting the Knights of the Old Republic um, video game to be adapted to the big screen because that's such a great story to do, and it would get people involved so quickly. People would love that so much, and I think it would be a good thing to do. So I don't know when this is coming out. I just know from reading the rumor that they already have written a script for a sequel, not a sequel, for a trilogy, 3 movies, and I'm very interested if at all this is going to come out, if this is going to go into production, because it's just a rumor right now, but I am interested that this script was written by a woman writer. I believe the person that wrote Shutter's Island. I don't know if anyone that's listening knows that movie, but that was a pretty good movie in my opinion. And Martin Scorsese directed that movie, so she has to be a good writer. So I'm very interested to see a Star Wars trilogy written from a woman, because in the sequel trilogy we're getting this whole saga, Skywalker saga, from a young woman's point of view, and I like that. I like how that's going. So it's gonna be very interesting how a woman would write this from her point of view, obviously. Because there's always been some, critiques about romances from a male's point of view. But, but I would also like a balanced critique of a woman writing a romance. Because if you don't do it right, it could get kind of hairy. So I just I just hope that however this script is, that it gets into production, and I'm just I would just be really excited to it. So now to the main event. Now we're going to talk about the Rise of Skywalker Vanity Fair covers. And I have to say right off the bat, man, they were beautiful. They were beautiful. I wasn't I didn't know what to expect, really. So what I saw, I'm so glad that they did, because I don't know if anyone knows this, but I am a supporter of Rey and Ben slash Kylo being together, because I believe that's where it's going. No doubt in my mind. It's just how they get there. I am really excited, because I've always said You're not there to see the Resistance win. You're not there to see the First Order fall. You're there to see what the heck is going to happen with Ben Solo. Because he's always been the wild card through these two movies, and I continue him being that into The Rise of Skywalker. Force Awakens, he changed the story around. Last Jedi, he changed the story by killing Snoke. And now, with The Rise of Skywalker, with him being as conflicted as ever, not just with himself, but him with his feelings with Rey, his romantic feelings. And I always thought, where are they going to go with this? How are they going to finish this? And from what I've read from the Vanity Fair articles, I am very, very encouraged that we are getting Ben Solo, or as they say on Twitter, Bendemption. Because I just think that's where it's going. I believe this is going to just be hopeful to end the Skywalker saga because, man, this saga has been either tragic or bittersweet. We need a straight up hopeful ending. But back to the covers. I can't remember a time that Ben Solo / Kylo Ren has looked so much as a prince than he did when he first took his mask off in The Force Awakens. That's the last time we ever saw him like a straight up Disney prince. Because that's what he looked like on the covers. A straight up prince. And what I thought was interesting when I saw Rey's cover, she was looking at Ben longfully. You know, if you put them together, they look like they're looking at each other, and it's like Rey is looking at her longfully and very interesting. Because I believe on that desert planet, they are looking at each other face to face for the first time for a whole year. It even says that in the article. A whole year has passed. And I don't know if that's when they're gonna face off with each other for the first time, because the photos in there, at least one of them is showing Kylo Ren, Rey in the rain, facing off with each other. I think particularly that is photoshopped. I think that's for us to be tricked, because it just doesn't look like the angles, at least from Rey, how she's standing. It just doesn't look like she's fighting off with Ben. It didn't. It didn't just look right. Um, but for Ben, I mean, you could have took that image anywhere. But I think it was very pretty funny that it was both of them in the rain. So that should be an interesting part of the battle in rain, and just a sluggy and emotional, angsty fight. Um, and what I thought was very interesting, what Daisy Ridley said, that Kylo Ren had it all. He had her. He had Rey, and he just threw it away. And from Rey's point of view, what made you want to do that? It was given to you on a silver platter. You had me. You could be with the Resistance. You could end this all war and be happy, and both of us being happy. But you threw it away. I think that's very interesting because I think that's what Rey is just feeling in towards Ben and why she is so angry at Ben. It's kind of like a epic breakup and they have not resolved their feelings. And I think them this arguing, angsting it out while battling with lifesavers, I think is going to be a good part of the movie. Um, so it also says in one of the articles that in the beginning of Rise of Skywalker, she does not believe Ben can be redeemed in the beginning. So what I thought of that and what went into my mind, Ben's gonna actually be doing stuff into this movie that absolutely shocks Rey. Like, I can't believe you're doing that. It's gonna shock her because she fully thinks he is gone. He, there's nothing to be for him to be redeemed. But there's gonna be a couple moments of what Ben does in this movie. I don't know what part it is. It could be the first, second, third acts of the movie. I just think he's not only gonna prove to the audience, but to Rey, he wants to be redeemed. He's actively making the choice to be better. And yes, I think Palpatine is gonna push that a little bit because you can't have Palpatine, you know, alive or however they're gonna use Palpatine. I still don't know. I don't know if he's gonna be spirit. I don't know if he's gonna be dwell into someone or he's actually gonna be Palpatine in the flesh. I don't know. But I had a theory about what could possibly happen in this movie. I had a theory that what if they introduce what they introduce in Star Wars Rebels, World Between Worlds. It was one episode that Ezra and Palpatine met, and Palpatine was tempting him to be reunited with his family. Now, what if they did that with Ben? Because Rey already had that realization that she doesn't need her parents. She knows who her parents is. There were no importance. But Ben's parents are. What if Palpatine comes to Ben in this worlds between worlds and Rey is there also? Like all the things that you did, all the bad decisions that you made, you can redo them all. Kind of like a temptation, as you will. Like how Satan tempted Jesus in the Bible. He showed all these visions. All you gotta do is bow down to me. Right? All you gotta do is bow down to me, and I will fix it all. And I will give you all this. And what if that's kind of the same way they do with Ben? All the decisions, all the pain that you experience, I I can change it for you. I can bring your father back, right? I can make everything good again. I can give you this family you always wanted, the love that you always wanted. And it's a big temptation. It's a big moment in the movie. But as he finally makes a choice, he finally ends the conflictedness that he is having, and he says no to Palpatine. He he accepts the past. He accepts that what the decisions he's made, and he moves forward. I think that could be interesting if they do that. And maybe how they can use worlds between worlds, that concept, because it's a big concept. Um, so I don't know. I really don't know. But from all I'm seeing from the Vanity Fair and all that, and I do come to a realization after seeing all of this and all the evidence of the first two films with Ray and Ben, their force bond, and how it's gonna get deeper. I think they're either gonna ride together or die together. They're either going to live or they're going to die together. And I don't see Ray dying, so I do believe they're both going to make it. But I could see them like being separated from the resistance and everybody else and just go on a desert planet. Because they just might exile Ben, but Ray's not gonna stay away from him. That's not what she's gonna do. They are a part of each other. So I think that's the realization I have, that they either are going to die together or they're going to live together and be separated from everyone and be together. Now, I do believe that's going to be a happy ending. I do believe that. But them being together is a happy ending, in my opinion. So, I mean, there's other things to go over from the Vanity Fair with Finn. Finn looks great. I think to the Rose fans, I wouldn't, I just wouldn't be worried because I think they got something special for her. I really do. I think they got something special for her. Just because she's not in the Vanity Fair or the other promotion, I think they're trying to be safe with her because of what happened with her during the Last Jedi promotion and all those horrible fans that did to her. But I think what they have for Rose, I think it's carefully being planned. I think people are going to enjoy it a lot. Yeah, so I think there's plenty of things for Reylo fans to be excited for. I think there's plenty of things um for the whole sequel trilogy to be excited for from this article and from these covers, because it's just a great thing to behold. And I just got really excited to see what else they have for us in the promotion, because I do know they're gonna have a Lucasfilm panel at Comic Con in San Diego in about a month. So I'm excited what they're gonna show. Hopefully they bring all the cast together and stuff. They're probably gonna show behind the scenes kind of featurette stuff, kind of like they did with Force Awakens. I think that would be pretty nice. I'm not expecting anything major to come out of that unless they, give out a poster. And I'm expecting like an official trailer because we already got that at Celebration, and I think that should last us until maybe like October or something. So I think uh, I think that's pretty great. So I'm excited for what's gonna come for the MCU. I'm excited what's gonna come for the future of Star Wars and for the ending of the Skywalker saga. I'm so excited see how Rey's story ends. I can't wait to see how Ben's redemption story ends. And there's just so much to look forward to. And I'm so happy I was able to talk about this. And I'm just can't wait to do more podcast episodes. So I'd like to thank you for listening to me and listening to my thoughts of what's going on in Star Wars and everything else. Uh, hopefully, I'll be back soon to talk more news. But until then, have a great and blessed day.